Welcome to the weekly for October 30th. It's been a while. I was taking a look back at the YouTube videos that I've recorded in the past, and it's been a little over a month since our last video. I have a lot to share with you today. Not going to try to do it all in one video. I still want to keep it kind of short, but I do just want to give you guys some words of encouragement. Mention a couple of things that you can be aware of, remind you of a few things, and then give you a couple of quick sermon discussion tips. Today, if you were at church, this is Sunday afternoon, if you were at the gathering this morning, you know that we welcomed in, I think about 12 or 13 new members. And you know, we used to do the member interviews. We used to ask city group leaders to do those. Michael and I are now doing those. And one of the coolest things that I heard repeatedly over and over again from people as we interviewed them is just the integral role that city group has played in the life of their getting involved at Christ the King and really seeing what the church is like. I heard people tell me that it makes the church feel smaller, that it makes it easier to get to know people. I heard people say, this is where we really like get down and do life. This is what we were looking for in a church. We were looking for a church that was going to take community seriously, that was going to take mission seriously. So hearing all of those things is just a really good reminder for me and an encouragement to you guys and you ladies as people who are out there leading city group ministry, that we're seeing fruit, that God is blessing the efforts that we're making as a city group ministry, that people are blessed by your ability to shepherd and care for them as the Holy Spirit enables you to shepherd and care for them. So I just wanted to pass that along and let you guys know that even though we haven't been doing as many videos lately because we've had events going on Sunday afternoon, that I love you, I'm excited, I'm praying for you guys regularly. I think that I've had the opportunity to at least talk on the phone with every one of you in the past couple of months with everything that's been going on behind the scenes and just checking in to see how you're doing. As always, if you want to get together with me and talk group or anything else, all you have to do is give me a call and we can make that happen. I wanted to share with you guys something that came up in my group a couple of weeks ago, because this week's sermon discussion is a big component of the sermon had to do with mission this week. So a lot of your discussion will probably center on mission. We've talked about inviting unbelievers into groups and different things like that. And I just wanted to share with you guys that a couple of weeks ago in our group, we had something happen that was it was really eye-opening for me, and it was a learning experience that I think you guys, if you haven't seen it in your group, you may at some point. We had a guest come into our group who no one knew. This person was an unbeliever, and I observed in my group that, well, the group dynamic changed completely, which is to be expected to some degree. Everyone kind of clammed up, and they really didn't know how to respond to having someone in the room that they didn't know. But what threw them off more than anything is that she repeatedly kind of threw her 2 cents in, and she was using very churchy kind of Bible language that I know led most people in the group to believe that she was a Christian when in fact she wasn't at all. In fact, she's really hostile to Christianity. And through the course of the discussion and having time to think about it afterwards and talk with some of my group members about it, what I realized is that we really were just lacking a gospel fluency that we try to work so hard to have in our groups. You know, the lady who visited my group was not using gospel language. She was using very churchy works, you know, everything but grace and forgiveness and Jesus type language. But my group really didn't pick that out. And what was even more disturbing to me, in fact, is that they actually piggybacked off of her statements and in many cases agreed with her. So it made for a very awkward group. I know that I'm not the only one who's ever had one of those. But I wanted to share that with you all, just to remind you that when you have people come into your group for the first time, not in a skeptical or a judgmental way, but I would encourage you to see them as potentially being unbelievers. If we start with the assumption that people are believers, we're a lot more likely to get into trouble than we are if we start with the assumption that they aren't. So if we start with that assumption, then that allows us to just make sure that we're being clear in our group discussion about what the gospel is, who Jesus is, what he came to do, what our role is in that, and how that changes everything about our life on this earth. That's the gospel kind of discussion we want to be having in our group every single week, whether there's an unbeliever there or not. But especially when there's an unbeliever there, we want to make it really bottom shelf for people. But we always want to make it about Jesus, about his finished work at the cross, and about how that changes every aspect of our life now and forever. So think about that. Put that in your back pocket. You may not use that this week, but just be aware of that. That's something I wanted to share with you. And something that I kind of picked up after that as well, that I've posted on the city, is just for us to begin thinking about what do our groups really need. And something that I've heard and that I've seen is our groups really need to have some more fluency and familiarity with the gospel. We worked through a study called Gospel-Centered Life about a year ago. We also worked through it as a core group. And I've asked some of you guys what you think about working through that again. And when we do our group reset in January, and we kind of start all of our groups over as if they're new groups, not with new people, but just start fresh, get back to the basics, talk about what we're trying to accomplish as a city group ministry. It seems to me that it may be a good idea for us to look into doing something like, or even doing a gospel-centered life study again in our groups, and I would love to get your feedback on that. Another thing that we've talked about that I've posted on the city is concerning life stories. To kind of summarize the feedback I've gotten, here's what I hear. They're good, they need some more direction, and they shouldn't take the entire group. If there's something I'm missing, please somebody let me know. But going off of that feedback, I'm planning on retooling how we do life stories and incorporating that into our city groups beginning at the beginning of the year again. So one last thing, I just want to talk to you guys about sermon discussion, because with a couple of our new groups starting and speaking with some guys who are not as familiar with doing sermon discussion questions, I realized that getting the weekly and seeing, like 18 questions under one number can sometimes be confusing or overwhelming. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how I prepare for the weekly each week. I know this might seem kind of weird, but even though I write the questions most of the time, I still go back through and look at the weekly and scratch it out, write on it, make notes, everything like that. And what I try to do is I try to pick out one question or maybe two questions in each question set that I really think my group is going to key in on. And I kind of ignore the rest of them. The reason why I will oftentimes ask 5, 6, 7 questions in a string is just to give you different avenues to take and to let you just kind of discern what would be good for your group. Another thing I do is, as the discussion is going on in my group, rather than interjecting every chance I get, which that may be your style and maybe your group, maybe that's good for your group, but one of the things I do, I wanted to show you what one of my weeklies look like. Let's go over to that side. Yeah, look at that. When I'm done with it. The whole time during group, I'm in that margin just kind of writing notes about things and questions that maybe I want to follow up with that somebody has asked. So I just wanted to pass that little tip along to you as well. That may help your discussion to go a little bit smoother, flow a little bit more freely. And another thing is, with the weekly this week, I did change the format a little bit. You're going to start with the first question. You're going to choose one of the blocks of questions to start with in the middle, and you may only get to one. I don't know. But then you always want to end with the gospel, so then you'll end with the 5th question, which will close you out with some gospel application. So that's almost 10 minutes. That's a long video. I hope, and I thank you for bearing with me and watching. Love you guys, praying for you, encouraged by your service and your ministry to Jesus and His church, and I'll talk to you all soon.